They mocked her position as useless, a waste of a trained operator. 8 kilometers from the battlefield, what could she possibly accomplish? The tank crews laughed when they intercepted her coordinates, but their laughter turned to panic when a missile struck their lead vehicle from behind their own lines. Impossible. A second strike confirmed the unthinkable truth. She was not where she was supposed to be. She had infiltrated deep into territory their sensors swore was clear. By the time enemy commanders realized she was hunting them from within their own formation, it was already too late. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If you value stories about extraordinary people who change everything from the shadows, subscribe to join our community of viewers who appreciate the unseen heroes among us. The holographic terrain map cast a pale blue glow across the faces of officers gathered in the command center of Forward Operating Base Horizon. Commander Nathan Reed studied the three-dimensional rendering of Tariq Valley, his weathered features betraying nothing as he processed the intelligence report. Enemy armor division advancing from the northeast, he stated, gesturing to red markers moving across the projection. Estimated 40-plus vehicles including 17 T-90 variants. They are making a play for the valley. The ARES Battlefield Management System, Advanced Reconnaissance and Engagement System, updated in real time, displaying the position of every Allied asset across the battle space. Blue markers represented Allied forces, each tagged with unit designations and combat readiness status. If they secure Tariq Valley, Reed continued, they will have access to 3 major supply routes. We cannot allow that to happen. Brigadier General Thorne, who had flown in from Central Command specifically for this operation, leaned forward to study the display. His presence underscored the strategic importance of the engagement. "What is our response plan?" he asked. Reed nodded to Lieutenant Octavia Mercer, his tactical officer. "Lieutenant, walk us through deployment." Mercer, whose reputation for precision had earned her the call sign Clockwork, stepped forward and expanded a section of the holographic map. The 117th Mechanized will establish primary defensive positions here, here, and here. She indicated 3 choke points along the valley. Artillery support positioned on these ridgelines, drone surveillance covering these sectors, and special operators deployed at these observation posts to provide real-time intelligence on enemy movements. General Thorne frowned, pointing to a blue marker positioned far from the others. "What is this position, Captain Winters? That is nearly 8 kilometers from the expected contact point. What exactly is she supposed to accomplish from there?" The question drew attention to a female officer standing quietly at the back of the room. Captain Elise Winters appeared unremarkable compared to the other special operators present. Where they wore advanced combat gear with multiple tactical attachments, her equipment seemed minimal, almost basic. Her expression revealed nothing as attention turned briefly toward her. "Captain Winters is providing comprehensive battlefield awareness," Reed replied, his explanation sounding rehearsed. "Her position gives us eyes on potential secondary approaches the enemy might utilize." Thorne looked unconvinced but did not press further. "Very well, let us proceed." As officers dispersed to prepare their units, Lieutenant Mercer approached Winters. "That is quite the hike to your observation post. Sure you do not need additional equipment?" Winters checked her gear methodically. "This is sufficient. No backup? No support team? Not required for this mission profile." Mercer studied her with professional curiosity. Something about Winters seemed different from other operators, a quality of focused intensity that belied her seemingly peripheral assignment. "Well, good luck out there," Mercer offered finally. Winters nodded once. "Luck is a factor I try to eliminate." 4 hours later, Allied forces were in position across the valley. In the command center, the ARES system displayed a comprehensive tactical picture, defensive emplacements established, artillery ranged on likely approach vectors, drone surveillance active. Every soldier was represented by a transponder signal, their positions updated continuously on the holographic display. "Captain Winters has reached her observation post," Mercer reported, indicating a solitary blue marker on the far edge of the tactical display. "Echo 7 position secure." General Thorne barely glanced at the notification. "Noted. Focus on the primary engagement zone." As if to underscore his dismissal, an intelligence officer interrupted with an urgent update. "Sir, we have intercepted enemy communications. Translating now." The transmission played through the command center speakers, translated in near real time by ARES. American female operator positioned at checkpoint Echo, completely isolated, no tactical value, focus on primary defensive line. The enemy had detected Winters and, like Thorne, dismissed her as irrelevant, a wasted asset too far from the battlefield to matter. Reed exchanged a brief glance with Mercer, whose expression remained carefully neutral. Neither commented on the intercepted communication. As night fell, the enemy began their advance exactly as Ares had predicted. Heavy armor moved through the northern approach to the valley, their formation textbook. Assault vehicles in front, command and control assets protected in the rear. They are proceeding exactly as anticipated, Thorne observed with satisfaction. ARES has them completely mapped. No surprises today. The first indication that something was amiss came 2 hours into the engagement. Lieutenant Mercer noticed it first. Commander, Captain Winters' transmissions have become sporadic. Reed looked up from the tactical display. Explain. Standard check-ins every 30 minutes have been irregular for the past hour. Last transmission was, she checked the log, 47 minutes ago. Before Reed could respond, the blue marker representing Winters' position on the ARES display flickered, then disappeared entirely. Captain Winters' transponder has gone offline, reported a communications officer. No emergency beacon activated. Last transmission indicated possible enemy scouts in her vicinity. General Thorne dismissed the concern with a wave. She is a non-essential asset in a non-critical position. Focus on the primary engagement. Reed hesitated only briefly before nodding agreement. Lieutenant Mercer, redirect Surveillance Drone 7 to the main column. We need better visibility on their second echelon. As the battle intensified, Winters' disappearance became a footnote in the larger engagement. The enemy armor division had reached a critical position, preparing to break through Allied defenses. Their formation was disciplined, with command vehicles safely positioned behind the main assault force. They are going to break through our southern position, Mercer warned, highlighting a vulnerable sector on the display. Redirect the 3rd platoon to reinforce, Reed ordered, his voice calm despite the deteriorating situation. In the background, a junior intelligence analyst named Specialist Abernathy was reviewing satellite imagery from sectors outside the main engagement. Something caught his attention, a barely perceptible shadow moving through terrain the enemy considered secure. When he tried to flag it for the ARES system, the artificial intelligence failed to register it as a potential contact. "Sir," he called out, then hesitated when he realized what he was seeing made no sense according to the tactical display. "What is it, Specialist?" Mercer asked, noticing his confusion. "Nothing, ma'am," he replied after a moment. "System glitch." On the main tactical display, the enemy command vehicle had reached its optimal position, safely behind the advancing armor. From there, enemy commanders could direct the assault without exposing themselves to counter battery fire or direct engagement. The situation looked increasingly dire for Allied forces despite their technological advantage. ARES calculated a 64% probability that enemy forces would achieve their objective within the next 3 hours. No one in the command center was watching the sector where Captain Winters had disappeared. No one except Lieutenant Mercer, who had quietly tasked a secondary surveillance system to monitor anomalous movement patterns the ARES system might not recognize. "Commander," she said suddenly, her voice cutting through the tactical chatter, "you need to see this." Without warning, the enemy command vehicle exploded in a brilliant flash captured by surveillance drones. The ARES system registered the destruction, but could not identify the source of the attack. According to all sensors, no Allied units were in position to make such a shot. The angle of attack came from behind enemy lines, in a sector ARES displayed as completely clear. Confusion erupted in the command center. "Where did that come from?" demanded General Thorne, staring at the tactical display in disbelief. "Unknown, sir," replied the fire control officer. "No Allied units report weapons discharge." "Could it be friendly fire? A drone strike we did not authorize?" "Negative, sir. All air assets accounted for. That was a ground-based anti-tank missile. Signature analysis suggests Javelin or similar platform." Before anyone could process this information, a second explosion blossomed on the tactical display. Another high-value target, the enemy's mobile air defense system, erupted in flames. "Another direct hit," reported the surveillance officer. "Same attack vector, but again, no Allied units in position to make that shot." Reed studied the tactical display intently, his mind racing through possibilities. The angle of attack, the precision, the target selection, all suggested a highly trained operator working with specific intelligence about enemy vulnerabilities. Lieutenant Mercer approached him privately, keeping her voice low. "Sir, those strikes are coming from sectors near Captain Winter's last known position." "That is impossible," Reed replied automatically. "She would have had to move kilometers through enemy territory undetected." "Yes, sir. Impossible according to ARES." Something in her tone made Reed look up sharply. "What are you suggesting, Lieutenant? Permission to speak freely, sir?" At his nod, she continued. "Captain Winter's personnel file has unusual redactions. Her equipment loadout was non-standard, and her last transmission contained terminology consistent with specialized infiltration protocols." "Show me," Reed demanded. Mercer pulled up Winter's final transmission on her tablet. "Echo 7 position compromised. Initiating contingency blind spot. Radio silence protocol in effect." The phrase blind spot triggered something in Reed's memory. He quickly accessed a classified command protocol using his highest security clearance. The information that appeared on his secure terminal confirmed his suspicion. "Echo protocol authorized," he read. "Captain Winters is operating under Umbra clearance." A third explosion appeared on the tactical display, this time taking out the enemy's forward reconnaissance unit. The pattern was now unmistakable: systematic elimination of command, control, and intelligence assets. "Someone want to explain what the hell is happening out there?" General Thorne demanded, his earlier dismissiveness replaced by urgent confusion. Reed straightened, making a decision. "General, we need to speak privately." In the adjacent briefing room, Reed explained the classified operation only the highest levels of command had been briefed on. "Captain Winters is part of a specialized program testing experimental counter-detection technology, equipment designed to exploit the one vulnerability all battlefield surveillance systems share. They can only track what they are programmed to recognize." "You are telling me she is operating behind enemy lines?" Thorne asked incredulously. "That is suicide. Their sensors would detect her immediately." "Not if she is using the Umbra system," Reed replied. "It is designed to create what technicians call a perceptual blind spot in both our and enemy surveillance systems. In essence, she becomes invisible to electronic detection." "Why was not I informed of this?" "Need-to-know basis only, sir. The program remains in experimental stages. This is its first field deployment." "So her observation post assignment was, 'Cover, sir. She infiltrated behind enemy lines before the battle even began.'" As if to confirm this explanation, intercepted enemy communications played through the command center speakers. "We are being targeted from within our own formation. How did they get behind us? All units, initiate security sweep, sectors 7 through 12. The once confident enemy commanders now frantically tried to locate a threat their systems could not detect. In the command center, attitudes toward Captain Winters underwent a seismic shift. Officers who had barely registered her presence during mission planning now spoke her name with newfound respect. Tactical displays were reconfigured to track the systematic destruction of enemy assets, creating a ghostly trail of her presumed movement through hostile territory. "She is not just surviving behind enemy lines," Lieutenant Mercer observed. "She is hunting them." With their command structure crippled and formation in disarray, the enemy armor division began to falter. What had nearly been a defeat for Allied forces was transforming into a decisive victory as Winters continued to target key enemy assets from positions that seemingly materialized from nowhere. General Thorne, who hours earlier had dismissed Winters as irrelevant, now stood transfixed by the tactical display. "I want to know everything about this Umbra program and Captain Winters' operational history," he ordered. Reed nodded to Specialist Abernathy, who had been quietly compiling information. "Sir, Captain Winters served with distinction in 4 combat deployments before being recruited to the Umbra program. Her specialty was solo infiltration behind enemy lines to paint targets for precision strikes, but she identified a critical vulnerability. Modern battlefield surveillance made such infiltrations increasingly difficult. So she helped develop technology to overcome those very systems," Mercer added. "Systems like ARES." "Correct," Abernathy continued. "According to available records, she believed that over-reliance on technology created vulnerabilities a properly trained human operator could exploit. The Umbra program was developed to prove this thesis." "And she was right," Thorne acknowledged. watching as another enemy vehicle exploded on the tactical display. As the battle progressed into its final phases, the enemy armor division abandoned their objective and began a disorganized retreat. Their carefully planned offensive had collapsed entirely, undermined by an adversary they could not detect or counter. 12 hours after her transponder went offline, a secure transmission finally came from Winters. Echo protocol complete, 14 high-value targets neutralized, requesting extraction from grid coordinates Tango 7-3. General Thorne immediately authorized a priority extraction. "I will lead the team personally," he announced, surprising his staff with his direct involvement. "Sir, is that wise?" Reed questioned. "I dismissed her capabilities, Commander," Thorne replied. "I need to see for myself what one operator accomplished against an entire armor division." The extraction team departed immediately, leaving Reed and Mercer to coordinate the final phases of the operation. As Allied forces secured the valley, intelligence reports confirmed the extent of Winter's impact. Without their command structure and key support units, the enemy had lost all combat effectiveness. "She single-handedly changed the outcome of this engagement," Mercer observed. "No," Reed corrected. "She exposed a critical vulnerability in how we conceptualize modern warfare. We have become so dependent on systems like ARES that we have forgotten the human element, the capacity for a well-trained operator to do what technology says is impossible." The extraction team found Captain Winters at the designated coordinates, seated calmly on a rock outcropping overlooking the valley. Her equipment, now fully visible, looked nothing like standard military gear. Instead of the bulky tactical systems used by other operators, she carried sleek, unfamiliar devices with no identifying markings. General Thorne approached her first. "Captain Winters." She stood and saluted crisply. "General?" "That was," he seemed to search for appropriate words, "an exceptional operation." "Thank you, sir. Did we secure the valley?" "We did, largely thanks to your intervention." She nodded once, then began methodically packing her specialized equipment. Her movements were efficient, practiced, the actions of someone who had trained extensively for this exact scenario. "I owe you an apology, Captain," Thorne continued. "I questioned your positioning, your role in this operation." "You made a tactical assessment based on the information available to you, sir," she replied without looking up. "That is protocol. Nevertheless, I was wrong." She finally met his gaze. "With respect, General, being underestimated was essential to the mission's success. Your reaction was anticipated." There was something in her tone, not insubordination exactly, but a certainty that transcended normal military hierarchy. This was an operator who understood not just tactics but the human psychology behind them. "Your equipment," Thorne nodded toward her specialized gear. "I have never seen anything like it." "Umbra system, sir. Still in development. This was its first full-field deployment. And it works by creating a perceptual blind spot in surveillance systems. It does not make the operator invisible so much as overlooked. Systems like AREs are programmed to recognize specific patterns. Umbra exploits the gaps between those patterns." When they returned to Forward Operating Base Horizon, Captain Winters was immediately escorted to a secure debriefing facility. The details of her operation would never appear in official records or public accounts of the battle. Instead of a public recognition ceremony, Winters received her commendation in a closed-door meeting with top military officials. Commander Reed was present, along with Lieutenant Mercer and several high-ranking officers who had flown in specifically for the debriefing. "Captain Winters executed the most successful implementation of Echo Protocol to date," Reed informed the gathered officials. "She deliberately exploited blind spots in both our and enemy surveillance systems to move undetected through hostile territory for over 16 hours, neutralizing 14 high-value targets and fundamentally altering the outcome of the engagement." The senior intelligence officer present nodded appreciatively. "The implications for future operations are significant. If one operator with Umbra technology can achieve this, imagine what a specialized unit could accomplish." "That is precisely what we are proposing," replied a civilian in an unmarked suit, clearly a representative from whatever agency had developed the Umbra system. "Captain Winters has proven the concept. Now we scale it." Throughout the debriefing, Winters remained professionally detached, answering questions with precision, but volunteering nothing beyond what was directly asked. It was only when Lieutenant Mercer inquired about her motivation for joining the Umbra program that something more personal emerged. 2 years ago, I lost teammates in an operation when our positions were compromised, Winters explained. The very systems meant to protect us had created a false sense of security. The enemy had found ways to access our tactical data. They knew exactly where we were, while we believed ourselves hidden. She paused, the memory clearly still raw. That is when I realized our increasing reliance on technology was not just changing how we fight, it was changing how we think. We had stopped believing in what humans could accomplish without technological assistance. So you volunteered to prove otherwise, Mercer concluded. I volunteered to restore balance, Winters corrected. Technology has its place, but when we forget its limitations, people die. In the days following the debriefing, Ares underwent significant reprogramming to address the vulnerabilities Winters had exposed. Training protocols across all special operations units were revised to include awareness of technological blind spots and the concept of perceptual security, the idea that being seen was not the same as being noticed. A week after the operation, General Thorne requested a private meeting with Captain Winters before returning to Central Command. I have reviewed your full service record, he told her without preamble. Impressive does not begin to cover it. Yet you have consistently declined promotion opportunities that would take you out of the field. I am more effective as an operator than an administrator, sir. Clearly, he acknowledged. But there is something else I have noticed. Despite multiple recommendations for distinguished service medals, you have received none, because each operation was classified above the level required for public recognition. She shrugged slightly. Medals are not why I serve, General. No, but recognition matters, which is why I have recommended you for a new assignment. He handed her a sealed folder with the highest security classification. We are forming a specialized unit based on your work with Umbra. 6 operators to start, with you as team leader. For the first time, genuine surprise registered on her face. Sir? The greatest assets are often the ones we overlook, he said, echoing her own philosophy. That will not happen again. Not with you, not with this program. 3 months later, at a remote training facility, Captain Winters stood before 5 carefully selected operators, each chosen for their demonstrated ability to think beyond conventional tactical doctrine. The training room contained no advanced technology, no holographic displays, no ARES terminals. Instead, a simple phrase was written on the board. The most dangerous place on a battlefield is where everyone is absolutely certain nothing exists. Welcome to Umbra, she began. You are here because you understand something fundamental about modern warfare that others have forgotten. Technology does not win battles. People do. Technology is a tool, nothing more. She activated a small device on her wrist, and suddenly the room's security sensors stopped registering her presence entirely. To the base's surveillance systems, there were only 5 people in the room, not 6. Over the next 6 months, I will teach you to become the blind spot in the enemy's perception, the threat they never see coming because their systems tell them you do not exist. You will learn to move through hostile territory undetected, not by defeating surveillance technology, but by exploiting the human tendency to trust it implicitly. Lieutenant Mercer, now promoted to captain and serving as Umbra's intelligence liaison, watched from behind one-way glass. She had been instrumental in identifying the 5 candidates, each with psychological profiles similar to Winter's own. Highly independent thinkers with exceptional spatial awareness and a healthy skepticism of technological solutions. They do not look like much, remarked General Thorne, who had come to observe the program's launch. Neither did Winters, Mercer reminded him. That is precisely the point. The candidates were a deliberately diverse group, selected not for physical prowess, but for cognitive flexibility. Among them was Specialist Abernathy, whose attention to anomalous data during the Tarik Valley operation had earned him Winters' personal recommendation. The Umbra system does not make you invisible, Winters continued her briefing. It creates a perceptual mismatch between what surveillance systems detect and what they report. We exist in the gap between detection and recognition. For the next several hours, she walked them through the fundamental principles of perceptual exploitation, the science behind the Umbra technology, and the psychological aspects of operating unseen. The human mind relies on technological confirmation now more than ever, she explained. When a commander sees nothing on their tactical display, they believe nothing is there, even if instinct tells them otherwise. Our advantage lies in that cognitive blind spot. As training progressed over subsequent weeks, the candidates learned to move, think, and operate differently than conventional special forces. They practiced exploiting the limitations of various surveillance systems, from basic motion sensors to advanced multispectrum imaging arrays. Standard infiltration doctrine teaches you to avoid detection, Winters instructed during a field exercise. Umbra teaches you to manage perception. Being detected is acceptable if the system categorizes you as irrelevant. In a specially constructed training ground, candidates practiced navigating through sensor networks programmed to ignore certain movement patterns while alerting to others. They learned to adapt their behavior to the specific algorithms used by different surveillance systems. Each system has its own definition of a threat, Winters explained. Our job is to fall outside that definition while remaining lethal. During one particularly challenging exercise, candidates had to cross an open field covered by multiple overlapping surveillance systems to reach an objective. Traditional stealth techniques proved useless as every movement triggered some form of detection. One by one, they failed until Abernathy approached the problem differently. Rather than trying to avoid detection, he deliberately triggered so many minor alerts that the system began filtering them out as background noise, allowing him to approach the objective unhindered. Excellent, Winters commended him. You understood that overwhelming a system can be as effective as evading it. When everything looks suspicious, nothing does. By the 4th month of training, the Umbra team had progressed to conducting simulated operations against active-duty military units equipped with standard battlefield surveillance technology. Time after time, they infiltrated secure areas, accomplished objectives, and exfiltrated without the opposing force ever confirming their presence. It is unsettling, admitted Commander Reed, who had observed one such exercise. Knowing they are there but being unable to track them creates a psychological effect beyond the tactical advantage. That is part of the strategy, Winters agreed. Once the enemy knows Umbra operators might be present but cannot confirm where, their decision-making degrades. They begin to doubt their own systems. During the final phase of training, the team faced their most challenging test: infiltrating a fully operational military base with the latest generation of the ARES system installed. Unlike previous exercises, this facility was not expecting them, creating genuine conditions for testing Umbra's effectiveness. Your objective is to reach the command center and plant these trackers, Winters briefed her team, distributing small devices. Base personnel will be conducting normal operations. They have been told only that security testing is occurring sometime this month. No specific date or method was provided. The operation commenced at 0200 hours. Using their specialized equipment and newly acquired skills, the Umbra team bypassed perimeter security by exploiting the system's filtering algorithms, designed to ignore certain movement patterns to prevent false alarms from wildlife. Once inside, they separated into pairs, each taking different approach routes to the command center. Abernathy and his partner encountered a patrol but remained motionless as the soldiers passed within meters of their position. The soldiers looked directly at them but saw only what their augmented reality displays told them to see: empty space. By 0430 hours, all 5 operators had successfully planted their trackers in the command center and exfiltrated without a single security alert being triggered. Base personnel remained completely unaware of the infiltration until the exercise was officially concluded at 0800 hours. Impossible, declared the base security chief when informed. Our systems would have detected any intrusion. In response, Winters activated the trackers remotely. 5 distinct signals appeared on the base's security displays, all originating from within the command center itself. Your systems detected us, she explained. They simply did not recognize what they detected as a threat. The distinction is critical. Following the successful completion of training, the Umbra program received full operational authorization. Their first deployment would target an enemy forward operating base thought to be coordinating attacks against Allied supply lines. The night before deployment, Winters met privately with her team. Tomorrow is not about proving the technology, she told them. Umbra works. We have demonstrated that conclusively. Tomorrow is about proving that humans can still accomplish what machines say is impossible. What exactly are we targeting? Asked Abernathy. The enemy has developed their own version of ARES, Winters explained. Less sophisticated than ours, but based on similar principles. They believe it makes their command center impenetrable. Our mission is to prove otherwise. The operation proceeded flawlessly. Using Umbra technology, the team infiltrated the enemy base, bypassed multiple layers of security, and accessed the command center's secure data network. They extracted critical intelligence about upcoming operations and planted sophisticated monitoring devices before exfiltrating without detection. The intelligence gathered led to the prevention of 3 major attacks and provided valuable insight into enemy capabilities and intentions. Yet despite this success, no public recognition would ever acknowledge what the Umbra team had accomplished. Their victory, like Winters at Tariq Valley, would remain in the shadows. 2 months after their first successful operation, Captain Winters received an unexpected visitor at the Umbra training facility. General Thorne had returned, this time accompanied by the highest-ranking members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. "Your team has proven the concept beyond our most optimistic projections," Thorne informed her. "The Joint Chiefs have authorized expansion of the program. 3 additional Umbra teams will be formed, with you overseeing the entire program as its first commanding officer." "With respect, General," Winters replied, "my value is in the field, not behind a desk." "Your value is in revolutionizing how we conceptualize modern warfare," he countered. "The insights you have developed need to be integrated across all special operations. This promotion allows you to shape that future." For the first time in her career, Winters accepted a role that would take her out of direct operations. As director of the expanded Umbra program, she would oversee the selection and training of new operators while continuing to refine the technology and tactics that had proven so effective. "Your teams will remain in the shadows," General Thorne assured her during the private promotion ceremony, "but your impact will be felt across the entire battlefield." Back at Forward Operating Base Horizon, Commander Reed found a handwritten note on his desk. Such physical communication was virtually unheard of in modern military operations, where everything was digital, tracked, and archived. The note read simply, "The most dangerous weapon is not the one with the most firepower. It is the one no one knows is there until it is too late." It was signed with a small drawing of a winter snowflake. Reed smiled and carefully destroyed the note according to security protocols. But its message remained with him, a reminder that in an age of increasingly sophisticated technology, the human element remained the most unpredictable and therefore most powerful factor in warfare. Have you ever known someone who never asked for recognition but deserved more than anyone else? Someone whose greatest contributions remained invisible to most people, yet changed everything. Their stories remind us that sometimes the most extraordinary people are the ones who operate in the blind spots of our perception, changing the course of events from the shadows.